I'm very pleased to welcome our next speaker, Ian Hodson, who is president of the Bakers, Food and Allied Workers Union. It's really good to have a trade unionist with us here this evening. You'll be aware that the Bakers Union disaffiliated from the Labour Party in September 2021. Welcome, Ian. I'm looking forward to hearing your perspective.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Esther, and it's a pleasure to be here. And obviously, I think it's the second or third time I've
Yeah,
joined you.
yeah,
So obviously the election last week, I think what it demonstrated is there was a desire to get rid of the Tories. There was a desire clearly for a change. I think the Labour Party benefited from that election last week. I think it's quite interesting when you look at who's placed second, and you look at the figures around. Certainly seeing where the Greens are positioned now, but scarily where Reform are positioned, and I think that should help the left focus, because what we're seeing across Europe, what we nearly saw happen in France, and I don't think Macron wouldn't form an alliance with Marine Le Pen if he thought he could keep the left out, because he is no different, in my opinion, to the likes of Starmer. Centrists would probably align with the right, certainly before they'd align with the left. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Marine Le Pen go into some form of coalition with Macron if it felt it would benefit him, and keep the left out. And I think that's where the left needs to consider, because Reform are now in a really good position to be able to exploit the media, which they did without MPs in Parliament. I don't know how they managed to get so many opportunities to present their vile policies that they do. But I mean, they've always been treated. I think they get treated probably as the third largest party, and I don't think they are. I mean, obviously the SNP was certainly are bigger. The Liberal Party are bigger, but they seem to get more coverage on any form of media, and that's why I think the left needs to really understand that the idea that we can be ideological about what comes next to defeat the right isn't a luxury we have anymore. I think as people that want a change, a radical reform of society, I think we have a duty to make sure we put that argument out there. And I think over the years, what I've always found is if you have common cause, you can have common victories. And I use the example of when we launched the £10 an hour campaign. I mean, we got laughed at, we got called extremists, we got told that it was absolutely stupid and ridiculous, but we did it anyway. And now everybody claims that they was responsible for the introduction of the £10 an hour campaign. The same in the fight against 0 hours, and the same in the fight in ending the youth rates. I mean, it became part and parcel of Labour's manifesto in 2017 and 2019. So I mean, despite what people think, that movement that was created around that included many organisations which would have had nothing in common with each other, but rallied around a set of ideas and a set of principles because they could. I mean, it included the Socialist Workers' Party, the Socialist Party, the Green Party, the Liberal Party, the Labour Party, the Communist Party. It concerned all of those people that they felt they had to be part of the aspiration of improving people's pay and job security. And it demonstrated that the left can work together, because it was the left predominantly that was involved in that campaign. I mean, I spoke at many of them, included the Workers' Revolutionary Party. I spoke at many events to talk about those issues and stood next to banners which portrayed all of the Bakers Union policies that we were calling for, which demonstrated again to me that no matter what our belief about our ideology is, when you have common cause, and you organise around a set of aims and objectives that improve people's lives, the left can organise and unite. And I think that that's where we need to be. I'm not a member of a party. I've been I've obviously invited to join many a party. I enjoyed taking part in this election, supporting independent candidates. I enjoyed probably for the first time in many elections. I mean, because I've been taking part in elections and campaigning since like 1974. I think I went out on my first campaign. So I actually enjoyed this one. I mean, I went and helped Jeremy. I went and helped Andrew Feinstein. I went to Birmingham, helped in Birmingham. Obviously helped in Wigan. And I found it really a whole lot better than what I would normally do, talking about the politics that actually represented my values and my beliefs. Which obviously, as you know, when I was in the Labour Party, it certainly didn't, apart from 2017 and 2019. So it was really positive to see those independents registering in the communities and having a significantly, in my opinion, good night. Because one of my fears always was that this election, because people wouldn't have somebody to vote for, they'd opt out. And if they opted out, then we might not be able to bring them back when we need them to come back. So I was really pleased that so many independents stood and gave people that option to vote. What it also showed is that there is an awful lot of people that want something to be part of, to build. And my belief is that that needs the grassroots and democracy. I believe that, and I understand, and obviously Chris, and I have nothing but respect for Chris, and I understand he's part of a political party, and I don't mean to demean that at all, but I've been part of a party where they get told that you've got democracy and then you can't have any part in it. And I know Chris would tell me that's not the case in the Workers' Party, but I'm skeptical about all political parties now. I liked some of the stuff that I got involved in. I got involved with an organisation called Assemble that set up community meetings, and their aim is to elect people democratically through the people in the community by holding meetings and talking about the issues that they believe are important to them and identifying the priorities that the people have, and then those people taking part in electing their own candidates. And I was quite inspired by that idea. I mean, quite clearly they didn't have enough time to have done that in the run up to the general election, because we all got caught out pretty much, because I think we all thought it was going to be October, November. But I saw a potential model there for talking about the issues that we really do face in our communities. I mean, obviously we launched our own manifesto as the Bakers Union, and I think it's important that other trade unions, think about that. I think where the trade union movement is, if it accepts a watered down version of the New Deal for Workers, then it will have failed its members, in my opinion. We shouldn't have our terms and conditions or our rights determined by bosses. Bosses shouldn't determine whether or not we can have decent pay, or an end to 0 hours contracts. It should be those affiliate unions that have stayed inside the party and funded the party, and nobody else would. It should be them delivering now for working people, because that's what they were set up to do. But I don't expect them to. I expect them to water it down. And I do think a lot of it will go to reviews. And I do think it will go to a review where the bosses will say, oh, we can't accept that. And then we end up with a situation which probably was, why the country got into the mess it got, because instead of resolving and giving people rights when it was in the European Union, what they did was they introduced legislation that made people's employment more insecure through the use of the Agency Workers Time Directive, which was supposed to protect agency workers, but was levered in and actually enabled employers to introduce second generation and third generation contracts, which then creates a division in the community. It starts in the workplace and then goes outside, and then it blames migrants, and it makes it very, very easy then, you know, for politicians to blame migrants that are coming into the country because they made the legislation possible that enabled that to happen, you know, and then people lose their jobs, get replaced by people that are coming in from out of the country. But they're coming in because they believe that those jobs need to be done. Those were political decisions. It wasn't, you know, migrants that were coming here to take people's jobs. It was politicians creating the environment for that to happen, you know, and that leads to all sorts of problems, I think, that we're seeing now, which, you know, is why I fear, you know, that manipulation of reform is the real issue that the left needs to think about. How do we defeat, you know, the rise of fascism? Because I don't think we've ever elected. I mean, I know Oswald Mosley was in Westminster, but I don't think we've ever had 5 fascists elected in Westminster before, which I believe the Reform Party represent, and that's why I think now going forward, we can talk party politics. We can talk about our different feelings about who should lead that political party. But I'm certainly not somebody who believes I have all the answers. I believe I'm part of a, you know, a trade union, and I have a strong belief that to resolve our problems, it has to be done collectively. And if we don't do it collectively, then what we will continue to see is the defeat of socialism. And until we start to recognize there is only ever a collective solution to the problems we face, and that means unifying and united around a set of principles that we can all gather around and that we can all fight for, then we will continue to see, you know, the establishment who is unified around its aims and its objectives, defeating and getting people to vote against their own interest. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Comrade. Addressing the material needs of workers clearly it is at the centre of what we need to achieve, and your points about common cause. I saw a lot of support in the chat for what you were saying. For example, 100% Ian, always a voice of radical reason.